that was an impressive debut press conference from Graham Potter, and I should know I've seen a few. I always seem to refer back to him being Sam Allardyce's first one. I remember Pardew's first one. Was it Moyes' first one, or the second coming of Moyes? Lopetegui's, but that was impressive. That was, I've got to say, there was a sense of relief at that press conference with Graham Potter there. He was lucid, and I think that goes a long way. And I think for so long we've been so used to people not saying much, and I think in very, very recent times with Lopetegui, just him not being able to, I think, really convey that much towards the media, which then ends up in our ears, but also the siege mentality that it was didn't allow him to speak freely. I was very, very impressed by what I heard from Graham Potter there. And I think the first takeaway from it was I want him to do well. I'm willing him to do well. Of course I bloody want him to do well. I want every West Ham manager to do well, but there seemed to be an integrity and an honesty about him, and I like the way we spoke. We spoke. We didn't speak. I like the way he spoke, and he just seems immediately he's a good communicator, a really, really good communicator. So I like that. There's I want to keep this video very, very positive. And I've actually made some notes on his press conference. I say his press conference. I listened to the press conference. I've digested it. I also watched the interview. He did a podcast with Jake Humphries. I think it might be called the High Performance Podcast. Listen to that as well. I've been impressed. I am happy to take on new information and sort of be converted by it. I often get I was going to say insulted, criticised on this channel. People say, "Oh, you flip flop too much." I don't know if they're wagging their finger and curling their lip when they're doing it, but I always imagine that when people are sort of typing it out, they're doing that. But I never take it as, I'm never wounded by the comment, because I think for that to happen, we would both have to agree that being stubborn is a good thing. We'd both have to agree that changing one's mind is a bad thing to do. I'm always happy to change my mind. Absolutely. You know, you get new information, not just new information, get new data, you should be able to change your mind. But you've got to allow yourself to be won over by people. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this guy was my first choice. He wasn't. I don't feel that there's probably any currency or any value now in telling you who my first choices were. But I was a little bit sceptical. But I'm willing to hold my hands up now and just say, okay, well, this is good. He is now in that press conference changed my outlook to being nervous about his appointment to looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Aston Villa game. Okay, I mean, funny enough, Gio messaged me earlier and said you got catfished by Lopetegui, and to a certain extent I did. I did not want Lopetegui to come in. It wasn't so much Lopetegui's first interview that did it, because obviously English is not his first language. He's not the best English speaker in the world. But certainly I think the propaganda, I don't mean that as a bad word, but maybe a lot of the stuff that the media department put out, which I thought was very good, it warmed me, it endeared me more to Lopetegui. I saw him, I think now in hindsight it was staged, but it was him and Tim Steiter meeting George Earthy, and it was quite recently after the Luton game where George Earthy had scored the goal, and I thought the video gave the impression that Lopetegui was going to use youth and all that type of thing. So I think I was certainly won over by him, and saw him interacting with all the staff. I thought he was quite impressive during it. So yeah, Gio said I got catfished by Lopetegui. I did. This is different now. I think there's an authenticity to this guy. I think there is an honesty to him. I've written some notes down here. I'll just go to that honesty bit. He said he felt happy, proud and privileged to be at West Ham. Now, I am the first one to sniff out an insincere platitude. I really am. I noticed that. I hate it. I actually hate PR spin. I hate press speak. I think he is. I think he is proud. I think he is happy. Looked happy. I think he does feel privileged. I think this is... I'm now starting to wonder if this is the right sized club for Graham Potter. Graham Potter is a project manager. Now, I know we've just sacked a guy after 6 months or whatever it is. So anybody be within their rights to say, well, hold on a second, how can you say West Ham back their managers? But I think they wanted to. I think in many respects, Lopetegui made it impossible to continue backing him. And whilst I felt sorry for him during this process, I felt sorry for him because he's just lost his dad, I don't think he's been a very good manager for West Ham. And I think if you're going to be a project manager, I think that West Ham is not a bad club if you can get the infrastructure right. the infrastructure is not right at the moment. But I do know something, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video. The fact that he has Karen Brady behind him is huge. I'll certainly be guilty of talking about things you change your mind and things you get wrong. I've certainly been guilty in over recent years, maybe certainly recent months, of believing that, is it Lady Brady or Baroness Brady, whatever it is, that her influence has been on the wane, that she is less involved, that maybe she had a sight set on politics more than, I mean, she's in the House of Lords anyway, isn't she? So I'm not, she's doing that sort of stuff. What has been made very, very clear over the last 2 weeks is that Karen Brady is still a huge influence at West Ham. And you're going to need her behind you. Ideally, you need everybody behind you. But you certainly, she's one of the people you don't want being suspicious or, wondering if you're capable of doing the job. The fact that he has her behind him, I think is very, very good. I think that's a positive as well. I think one of the other things that I was a little bit worried about that was maybe, and I started mentioning that I might have got that wrong in yesterday's video, that maybe Potter was a little bit too timid for the West Ham job. I've already changed my mind on that in the space of 2 days. I started to wane a little bit last night. Now, having seen that, I don't believe that's the case. It was a real confidence to him. I liked the way that he spoke with the press. It was a confidence that he knew some of their names. That's going to really help him. Look, he's, as I understand it, he's got a degree in psychology or something like that. If you're that intelligent, if you're that bright, you're going to know the value of knowing people's names, of speaking to people warmly. I don't mean that to sound cynical. I think that's a really, really good thing to do. I think it's a skill, and if he's like that with the press, then you know how good he's going to be with the players. And I'll tell you now, that group of players are really, really going to need a somebody that knows how to communicate, somebody that knows man management. And I think, quite possibly this is going to be a guy that understands that. I can't attest to what happens at West Ham, but we know there were fallings out with Lopetegui, and I do wonder if the dictatorial iron fist in the velvet glove approach was probably, well, it probably wasn't even a velvet glove, it possibly just was the iron fist approach, pardon the expression, at West Ham under Lopetegui was going to help. I think you're possibly going to need a little bit more warmth. You're going to need to be a little bit more tactile with the players. I certainly do believe that. So I was pleased to see that. I was pleased to see those characteristics coming through from him. What I'm going to do, by the way, just to let you know now, I'm going to do a live with Gonzo tonight at 7 o'clock. I don't think I've done one in years. Honestly, I don't think I've done one in years. But I'm very keen to gather other people's comments and do an interactive show. So I'll be doing it on this channel at 7 o'clock. We'll go from there. We'll talk about Potter and everything and what you think and maybe some of your observations as well. Just looking through my notes now. I liked what he said. I mean, this is why you want him to do well. There's he's got confidence, but he's also got humility, and that's a tricky one. I've always thought that's a tricky one. Too confident, you come across as cocky, but to be confident and humble, that's a good one. That's a really good balance if you've got that. He spoke about balance, not in those terms, during his press conference. He said it felt like Christmas. I couldn't sleep. I was pleased to hear that. We've all been there, right? If you've got a something big, something important the next day, certainly starting a new job, it's hard to sleep the night before. I understand they put him up in a Stratford hotel last night, by the way. Maybe it was the bed in the Premier Inn. In West Ham, they probably stuck him in a £39 B&B. Was sleeping on the floor. That's why he couldn't sleep, Graham. But yeah, it's. I liked it. I liked what he said. He mentioned the academy on 2 occasions. In fact, possibly 3 occasions if you chuck in what he said about Mark Noble and the great work that Mark Noble's doing. Noble must be rubbing his hands at this stuff, particularly because he's put such hard work into developing the academy. We'll deal with that. Those are conversations for another day about Mark Noble. Maybe we can even have a look at it tonight if someone brings it up in the chat. He's looked at the squad and he's looked at the academy. I'd like this. I really like that. I mentioned last night in yesterday's video what's he gonna bring, and I don't remember. I should remember because I went down. I realised I've seen West Ham play Brighton and get thumped by Brighton on numerous occasions under Graham Potter, so I probably should know more. But I think it was more of a horror show. I certainly went down to the Amex at least twice under him, possibly 3 times. Some of the old vlogs on the old main channel pretty much me crying into my beer because West Ham have been humiliated by Graham Potter and Graham Potter's Brighton, so I should know enough about them. I like, he's got the very, very best out of his players, got the very best out of Murray, who was a journeyman footballer. Was he at Palace first? Maybe he was at Palace first. Got the very best out of him. If Fulkrug stays, I'm not entirely sure he will. I think he'll probably get the best out of him. But I mentioned, there was 2 other players that I mentioned in yesterday's video. Max Kilman, because I remember Dunk. I remember Dunk, again, was a bit of a journeyman, really. A bit of a clogger, truth be known. He brought the absolute best out of him, and he became this brilliant sort of ball-carrying central defender. And to be fair play to Potter, he continued to do it even after Potter left. I don't think under anyone else, someone like that would get a player like Dunk into the England squad. And so I think there are things. So as I say, I'm looking for positives now. I've spent too long doing the negatives of this, that, and the other. And I don't want to be that guy, looking for excuses to moan, and that's why I'm, all the Stighton stuff and all the rest of it, I'll leave it. They are conversations for another day. I don't think they're going to go away, and I do believe that there should be some recriminations and some looking back at how exactly Lopetegui was appointed in the first place. Some of it went drastically wrong. I've not forgotten about that, but not today, not this day, not on this video. And Somerville as well. I think Todibo would be really interesting. He flew to France this week for assessment or treatment on his injury. But I think he'll like him as well. I think he'll be quite pleased. And there's others. I think Soler will play really well. I don't particularly want to go into the players that I think will do badly because, as I say, it's not that kind of show today. But I am excited by it. And I am now looking forward to the Aston Villa game, and I'll tell you about that Aston Villa game. He called West Ham a massive club. I do think it's the right size for him because obviously we're bigger than Brighton. Traditionally, to be fair, I know people are going to laugh, right? But traditionally, we're a bigger club than Chelsea. I've got to say that, and I know there's going to be, well, there won't be any Chelsea fans watching this, but I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're taking a mickey," or Chelsea have won the Champions League. I know, I get all that, but for the vast majority of my life, West Ham have had far more fans than Chelsea have had. I've got to say. So Chelsea have been boosted in recent years by Roman Abramovich's money, but I can understand how Potter would have gone in there and been swamped by if not the enormity of the club, the enormity of the task and the enormity of the reputation. I think West Ham's the right size club because we are a big club, but you have the opportunity. It's not quite a blank canvas because there's already some paint on it, and some of it you're going to want to smudge off and create into a different picture. But there is an opportunity here for him. But if he thinks West Ham are big, he's going to get a shock tomorrow night against Aston Villa with the away support. Maybe he won't. Well, I've been in that away support in Brighton. He's seen it. He knows it. I've been there. But it's FA Cup, so you'll have more fans for FA Cup. I think we're taking 5,700 up there. That's a lot. Listen, West Ham away fans make a lot of noise when we take 3,500 places. Nearly 6,000 West Ham away fans, and they're the vocal ones, right? They're the noisy lot. They're going to make a right racket. I wouldn't mind betting that he's going to look around. He's as much as he was, what did he say? Happy, proud, privileged, pleased. When he sees those away fans and he hears those away fans, he's going to be saying, "Come on, I'll have some of that." He understood. He kept on speaking about bringing the fans and the team together. He knows the value in that. I would be lying if I said there wasn't a Gareth Southgate-ness about him. But there seemed a little bit more punch to him, a little bit more bite, a little bit more conviction, let's put it that way, to what he was saying. And I believed him. I didn't always believe everything that Southgate was always saying. Well, I didn't like Southgate's tactics. You can't compare the two people tactically anyway. Although I do believe Southgate did an awful lot for technical development of players in this country when he was FA technical director. But I did often get the impression that the words that Southgate was delivering was PR spin. I didn't particularly warm to him. So, but he says the right things, and that shouldn't be a bad thing, saying the right things, as long as you're able to also say the honest things. But when he said about bringing the team and bringing the fans closer together, I do think he means it. I think he's going to see it in full effect. I keep saying tonight. I wish it was tonight. It's tomorrow night. He'll see it in full effect tomorrow night. And the fact I wish it was tonight is probably the biggest compliment I can give him. I don't want to sit here continually saying the club have got stuff wrong and the club are doing crap. And I want to sit here winning games, playing good football. I don't think my idea of good football is not necessarily tippy-tappy stuff. I love the stuff under Alan Pardew. I don't care if we leg it down the wing and cross it over and we score a load of headers. I don't care. I want to see us playing on the front foot sometimes. I want to see us having ambition and taking teams on, right? Whether that's 4 passes or 30 passes, I don't. Ultimately, I'm not too bothered. But I want to see us having a go, and I want us to see us competent. And look, he's got to show that. He's not shown me anything tactically yet because of just going on a press conference. But I've got and a podcast, to be fair. But I've got to say, I am impressed. I am impressed with his words and the way he delivered them as well. Journalist names we've covered. I'll tell you what. I want to say this as well. 2 things. Firstly, he got asked about Brady, and he got asked about Stuyton. I thought he handled them both really, really well, and he sidestepped them quite well. The Brady one was easy enough to do. I thought he did it really, really well, and he was asked in the written, because they do 2 press conferences. He was asked in the written press conference about Tim Stuyton, and he did it well. I don't even want to go into any detail because, again, it's a negative thing and I don't really want to overly talk about it. It's a conversation for another time. The other thing I've written down here is he's forward-looking. I used to think that the phrase forward-looking I used to hate it. I hate buzzwords. I hate cliches. I hate catchphrases, particularly modern ones. I hate sort of like corporate speak and stuff like that. We're gonna crunch the numbers and all that crap, right? All that. There's loads of them. There's loads of them, isn't there? And I hate that type of stuff. And I always used to hate forward-looking. I used to hate it as a phrase. Until I sort of had to apply it to myself, until I found some difficulty in my own life. And then I realised that looking backwards was really, really shit for my mental health, basically. So I started to become more forward-looking. And so not only did I start to appreciate the value of doing that, I then found it less of a dirty phrase, if you know what I mean. I thought, oh no, there is something. Not only does the phrase mean something, there is some merit to it. I like him. I like what he's done. I like the way he's forward-looking. I like the way It's not easy to do, and again, it can sound like a little bit of... It can a little bit airy-fairy, if you'll allow me that turn of phrase. When a little bit cliched when you say, well, I'm going to turn the difficulties in my life and turn them into positives. It does sound a bit wanky, to be honest with you, right? But it is important to do that. And I liked what he said about his experiences at Chelsea, and not just in this interview, but also in what he said in the podcast with Jake Humphries, the High Performance podcast. I don't think they're cliches. I don't think they're just PR words. I think he means them, and I think particularly given he's got a degree in psychology, he probably understands how the mind works better than most, and I like that. And I am now hopeful that we might end up getting the best version of Potter with his experiences from obviously what he did in Sweden, with his experience of what he did with Brighton. As I mentioned, I still think what he did with Brighton, he took a team that played crap football under Chris Hughton and he got them playing on the front foot. And eventually he got them up to 9th. He left when they were riding high in the Premier League. As Gio said the other day, who knows what we could have done that season, but we'll never know. Those are the positives, and those are positive experiences. He can draw on the negative ones. Happened at Chelsea. He He didn't want to go into detail about Chelsea in this press conference, and rightly so. He understands the value of that, and he's forward-looking. When he did this interview with Jake Humphries, I guess that was a year or so ago, he's probably in a slightly more reflective mood then, but still how he was processing that and looking at how he could take those negative things, what he did wrong, trying to separate what was his fault and then what was the circumstance of the club, which was under upheaval at the time. I liked that. I think it's too easy to say, well, everything's everyone else's fault, or to actually turn around and say everything is my fault. I think he's looked, I think he's analysed it, I think he's separated it. Okay, I could have done that better, I could have done that better, I could have done that better, but at the same time, this is where the club were. They'd just been taken over by Abramovich. That was going to be tough, this, that and the other. Very impressed. Sorry, I've been waffling on for 20 minutes. That's not going to stop me. I'll be back tonight. If you fancy joining me, 7 o'clock tonight, I will put the... I'll put it... It's been such a long time, I forgot how to do it with the software. We'll do a live with Gonzo. It'll be mostly Potter talk, but, anything else we can discuss. Certainly his view to transfers and stuff like that. Almost immediately, I've begun to look forward to what's going to happen with West Ham. Almost immediately, I'm now looking forward to the Aston Villa game. I'm looking forward to the transfer window. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. It's silly little things as well. I'm looking forward to... It's difficult for me because I've got kids here and whatnot. I've got a new puppy as well, as you know. But almost immediately I started looking at the fixture list. Okay, what games can I get to? What game, with more urgency. I'll be honest, than I was doing last week. So that much is good. Fair play to him. If nothing else, if he can just inject a bit of positivity into this team and into the fan base and into everyone behind the scenes, then he's done a real job. If he can galvanise people, that's no easy task. Anywhere, any manager, be it on the shop floor or be it in a factory, be it in the office or be it at a football club, it's no easy thing to galvanise everybody. And if he can galvanise everybody, then fair play. I tip my hat to him. I really haven't got a hat. It looks like I've had a hat on with my hair. Then I'll tip my hat to him. We'll talk about it more tonight. Thanks for tuning in, as always. I never say this. I never, ever say this. But, to be fair, 22 minutes in, if you're watching this, you probably already are subscribed. Anyone that's not has probably left within the first minute. If you haven't subscribed, please do check that you've subscribed on the channel. It's just the button underneath. Next to that button where you... hopefully you've liked the video. So you can do a like. 3 things, really. Do a like. Hit the subscribe button, but also there's a bell next to it. Make sure you've got the bell switched on, then you get a notification when I upload. And that's, I really pretty appreciate that. Thank you very much, because this is how I earn my wages, quite frankly. So, thanks very much for tuning in. If you want to join in later on tonight, 7 o'clock, we'll do a live with Gonzo. I'll get it set up now, and enjoy the rest of your day.